You sing and then we're leaving. Oh, great.
I just feel on the foot.
I love you, sweetheart.
3 years ago, I was in the audience where you are in Dublin, and I got to it who talked about living a life and seeing which citizen always stood up in his crowd, right in front of you. I listened to you speak about how she felt in the first out of her home. It was God who has been my inspiration and given me the courage and to his Caroline resume that who's of home can step of that. Please welcome Caroline and your food. I can judge.
Love you.
I turn the music up.
We see you. We see you. Sorry. Thank you, Oscar. Muchas gracias. And now we're going to start this session. And Oscar, this session is for you. You have been my inspiration in the toughest year of my life, and I swore I would come back. So I hope you will be proud of me.
Thank you, darling.
So we're going to do something a little different. In 2014, we decided to darken the room to make a point. When Oscar leaves the stage, I'm going to ask for the lights to drop. Disability has been too often left off stage. So if you bear with us, you're going to be in the dark, and we're going to start our historic session and worldwide call to action to say, see me.
Thank you, darling.
Turn the music up. I got my
Okay,
records on.
so I told you, we will always do things differently to make a point. So I'm the crazy lady who trekked 1,000 kilometers on horseback from Cartagena here to One Young World. And I was supposed to arrive to meet you on a horse. However, not everything turns out the way you plan. So I'm going to show you exactly what happened on Wednesday night on a tiny piece of video so that you'll understand why I ran up like an idiot with my chaps. So can we just do can we tee up that film? Okay, as you can see, I had literally the police horse. And that's Lucinda running after me. Now, the reason that I show this film is because I had planned everything so perfectly. We had worked so hard to make this campaign happen. We had gone 1,000 kilometers without incident. And then just at the most important moment, the mounted police horse went mental. And Kate's going, "Where is Caroline?" And the video isn't playing. And I go, okay, I've got to run up like some mad woman up the center of the aisle. And I looked ridiculous. So the reason I want to show you this video is for all of you out there trying to make change happen, please, I ask you to be kind to yourselves. Please don't take yourself seriously. Take your work seriously. But my gosh, when we try to make change happen, things go wrong all the time. You will fail, you'll come up against walls, it will be disappointing, your heart will break. But I promise you, every single tiny effort you make, every tiny effort you make is worth it. And when you care enough, you'll make an idiot out of yourself. You will make a difference. Because for the fact that you try, just that you try, and this is what I love about One Young World. So thank you for being so kind to me as I tried to make my entrance. And so why I am here and why I made a fool of myself and why I've given a year of my life, the hardest year of my life after my father died, to make this campaign happen is because I believe so adamantly that it is time to put disability on the global business agenda. This campaign called Valuable, which we are now launching our worldwide action tonight, is historic. It is the first time. It is a worldwide call to action for business to recognize the value and worth of the 1 billion people in the world with a disability and to position us equally on the global business agenda. Disability can no longer be left out. No business can say that they care and are committed to inclusion and diversity and not include disability equally. It is not acceptable anymore. The issue of disability has too long been left on the sidelines. You are 50% more likely to experience poverty if you have a disability. You are 50% more likely not to get a job. A human rights report that came out in the UK in March said in 20 years, the lives of people with disabilities have not improved. Valuable believes because business has not taken up the opportunity to be at the table. Valuable believes if business recognizes the value and worth of people with disabilities and their families as customers, suppliers, talent, and members of the community, society will too. Valuable believes if business includes, society includes. Business is the most powerful force on this planet. If it values us, society values us. If it excludes us, society will exclude us. And business has proven its muscle time and time again. Look at you. Look at what you can do within your business. It has proven it with gender, environment, poverty, water. Now it's disability. And if business cares for gender and LGBTQ and race and religion, now is disability. And the reason I stand here in One Young World, you guys are our allies. You, this generation, have a completely different understanding around inclusion and identity to the generations gone before. And that is why this is the only stage that I wanted to launch this campaign on. One Young World. One Young World. I need your help. I'm 45, I am middle-aged, and I am banjaxed, so I need your help. But this conversation began when David and Kate gave me permission for the first time in history on an interdisciplinary leadership forum. They gave me main stage in 2014. Look what happened. Cue 2014 Dublin.
Disability is a subject that doesn't get enough profile. It doesn't get talked about enough. And you know, it should. I mean, I think the thing that we all forget is we're only one tiny little event away from being disabled ourselves.
Because this session is so important to me and for all of us who are trying to build a world where every one of us belongs, including the 1 billion people in the world who have a disability. It was 25 years ago, I was 17. And on my 17th birthday, my life took a very, very unexpected change. because I was to discover that I was and had been since birth legally blind. So how did I get to 17 and not have a clue I couldn't see? Well, my parents, when they discovered that I had this condition, decided they would not limit my life. So when I discovered at 17 that I had a new label, this disabled label, I was terrified. I made the misassumption that if you were visually impaired or blind or had a disability, you couldn't live the life you wanted. And you will meet your speakers off the stage to the wonderful Mark Pollock, Joanne Reardon, Adam Harris. I'd now like to introduce you to Sinead Burke. And your final speaker, Niall Resin. Woo! Now, don't we make an interesting world?
We all have our challenges. What we decide to do about it is what counts.
If you all, 1,300 of you, were born into a world that was built for me, how would you survive?
And it's really inspiring that people with autism do so much just to cope in the world every day. Yet, what needs to happen is society needs to meet these people halfway.
But I am very, very proud to be different and to be a little person.
The privileges that I have give me a responsibility, and many of these people in the room, the responsibility to go out there and to be the change makers.
Because this is a very dealable, manageable thing, mental health. It's not if you ignore it.
But instead of looking at stuff that I can't do, I look at stuff that I can do.
And I think people need to really stop just going, leaving this building now and go, that was a lovely 25 minutes or 30 minutes, whatever we spoke for, and actually do something.
And if we just give people the support and we start accepting people as they are, the whole world wins.
15% of our global population currently has a disability. It will soon be 20%. Thank you. Today, we're going to celebrate oneness, not otherness. Today, we're going to celebrate uniqueness, individuality. Today, it's about likeness of being. Today, we are one world. One world! So can I just tell you, as the lights go up, I have a massive shout out to One Young World, to Kate and to David and to Ella, because what they did that day started where we are. No organization in the world has positioned disability the way they have. And can I just thank the One Young World team, the amazing work all of you do, David and Kate. So back then, you can cue that slide that's coming up. Back then, we had an idea. And then, 5 weeks ago, we set off on a horse with an idea together, One Young World and us, Valuable, to create this worldwide call to action. And I'm going to show you the figure of people. I'm not a celebrity. We didn't have money. And the figure of people we have reached in only 5 weeks who care enough to give us the voice to stand on this stage is 31.2 million people have said through this camp. 31.2 million people. We did it. We bloody well did it. And so this is like about as big as it's going to get, because I ain't Cher, and I'm not Tiny Tempa. I'm just a middle-aged person who gives an awful lot of a shit about this, and I am so very proud of us. So now what I want you to do, in knowing there are 31.2 million people, today I want to ask every single one of you to join your voices, to get your networks, to shout out and bring that up to 50 million in the next week, because we're going to make a point. And now I want to introduce you to 4 of our panelists. This campaign, it was about brands and leaders who stood up and cared to be here. No more talk, no more I believe in you, they're here. So can I please bring out the 4 most fabulous, valuable speakers for today. Ashley Nelson from Fossil. Massive round of applause, please. And can I also bring out Chief Marketing Officer from Channel 4 in the UK, Dan Brooke.
I'm going to tell you something really scary. When I decided to put this campaign together, I interviewed 53 businesses across the world. Now, Movistar have come in here to help us with all our technology. Channel 4, one of the biggest broadcasters in the UK, they came in too. Facebook gave us ad credits. But this company, Fossil, is the only company out of that other group who put their money where their mouth is. This is leadership. This is Ashley. Ashley, tell us a little bit about Fossil and your commitment.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Ashley. As Caroline mentioned, I stand, or sit here, I should say, before you from the Fossil Group, and really just am excited to engage in a much more robust conversation about inclusion, diversity, and specifically expanding that definition to those with disabilities into our corporation and hopefully into other organizations as well. So as I look out into this audience of what seems to be thousands of people, I see brilliant, engaged game changers staring back at me. And I just wanted to take a moment to applaud each and every one of you for being here today and for committing to make this world a better place. So, yeah. Caroline really educates and inspires all of us and continues to just drive awareness to millions and millions of people around the globe and to us at Fossil about this issue of living with disabilities. And you know, she's made it her life's mission to advocate on behalf of 1 billion people who are living today in this world with disabilities. And from our perspective at Fossil, we have a long way to go getting comfortable having this conversation, and we have a lot to learn. So we have committed to Caroline to put this topic, specifically inclusion, diversity, but expand it beyond gender, beyond race, and to include disability in this topic into our business agenda. And we're really in the very early stages of having this conversation in our organization, and we're leaning heavily into Caroline to educate us and to help guide us so that we can truly make an impact and build a roadmap that's meaningful in our organization and hopefully with other partners. So we are thrilled to support her as she literally and figuratively blazes a trail and keeps this topic of living with disabilities and true inclusion and diversity front and center for all of us in our boardrooms and in our communities. So that's it. That's our story.
Well, the story that is more important is the courage of an organization who is only at the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
And for me, what I am asking for those of you who work in companies who don't yet engage with the disability agenda, there's the example. Fossil were brave enough to stand on the stage and say, we don't know how to, but we will begin. Mm-hmm. So can I just say, this is a mark of leadership. They are willing to begin. Mm-hmm. They are willing to begin. All I'm asking for is just begin. So please, Ashley, thank you so much, and thank you for our partnership.
Thank you.
Now, Juan Pablo. So Juan Pablo, there's a misconception an awful lot about there's 1 billion people, conservatively 1 billion, in the world who have a disability. And a lot of people don't understand that 80% of that 1 billion, which is 800 million, acquire the disability between the ages of 18 and 64, which is your working age. So statistically, I'm going to tell you right now, in this room of you, of 1,300 or 400, 200 of you, statistically, can acquire a disability. This is not a conversation about otherness. This is a conversation about what world you would like to live in and how you would like to engage with business. So Juan, I was hoping that you might give us a little bit of your own personal story and what your message is to this audience and to the business world.
Well, I think that maybe the key word here is citizens. Yeah, it's 1 billion citizens, meaning we're not objects of charity, we're not objects of paternalism, we're subjects of rights. And we're here not to ask favors, but to demand rights. So the message here is we're not here asking favors, we're demanding rights. It's a huge difference. It's a huge difference. We are an empowered community. We're soldiers of a civil rights movement because it comes down to that. Yeah, where there's ethnic minorities, there's religious, there's LGBT people, and there's people with disabilities. We're a collective that is here to contribute. Yes, we want to be useful. We want to be taxpayers at the end. It comes down to what we can contribute to society and how we can be a part of this.
Absolutely. And can I just say, the feeling of being useful. So if you have one message to business tonight, what is that message?
We're here to solve your problems. We're not asking anybody. We have solutions. You have needs. So you need us to solve your problems if you want to become richer.
So the one thing that people forget is the market size or value of the 1 billion citizens, well said, in the world is $8 trillion. So why don't you want to do business with us? Seriously? So a huge round of applause for Juan, Pablo. Now, I've got to tell you, it is so great to be joined by two Colombians on the stage. I have fallen in love with Colombia. There is no way on earth there was a better country to make this campaign happen. I love the spirit, the resilience, the tenacity, and the heart of the Colombian people. So to be here with two Colombians is just a total honor. And to be here with one of Colombia's most renowned architects and business leaders who does not speak very often publicly is a huge honor. So please, to Mr. Augusto Salazar.
Hola, muchas gracias.
Because I don't speak Spanish, and we are going to do it through translation. Augusto, can you tell us a little bit about what you do?
Soy arquitecto, diseño y construyo centros comerciales.
I'm an architect, and I design large shopping centers and malls.
So can you tell me, what have you done as a leader with a commitment to disability?
Bueno, nosotros generamos empleo para personas con discapacidad.
We generate employment for people with disabilities.
Hace 10 años inauguramos el primer centro comercial.
10 years ago, we opened the first fully accessible shopping center in Colombia.
Y un 30% de nuestros empleados tienen algún tipo de discapacidad.
30% of our employees have some form of disability.
Además,
like if Colombia can do it, the rest of the world can do it.
Bueno, estas personas, hablo de los discapacitados, estas personas son nuestro orgullo, son nuestra bandera, son la insignia de responsabilidad social empresarial.
These people are part of our, we're very proud of these individuals. They're part of our community. They're part of our social responsibility.
Tomamos el riesgo de respetar el trabajo como un derecho transversal y hemos hecho un magnífico negocio si se quiere ver desde ese punto de vista. Las personas nos dan un excelente rendimiento y son nuestro orgullo.
We're very, very proud of these employees. They're productive individuals, and they give back to the business much more than they take.
So can I ask, what is the one thing? Sorry. So what is the one message you would give your peers, Augusto?
Bueno, yo quiero invitar a mis colegas de Colombia y del mundo y a todos ustedes que son los dueños del futuro a tener en cuenta a las personas con algún tipo de discapacidad y brindarles oportunidades de trabajo. Créanme, rinden seguramente que mejor que cualquiera de nosotros.
I want to invite my peers around the world, here in Colombia, and all of you, the future leaders of the world, to give opportunities to people with disabilities. They genuinely contribute hugely to my organization.
Muchas gracias.
Mr. Augusto. So from a beginner story to a personal story to a leadership story, there is a story around marketing. We really believe the CMOs or chief marketing officers of business need to get on this case. And we are so lucky to have Dan Brooke, one of the best, I think, marketing officers in the world. And he works for Channel 4, which was one of the leading broadcasters in the UK. Now, before I'm going to get him to speak, I want you to watch this video that they did for the Paralympics. And I think this is going to really show you the power of excellent media when we see it done right. Can we do the Paralympic video? Perfecto.
Yes, I can. 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 Hey, yes, I can.
No, you can't.
Yes, I can! Are you ready? I can climb Everest. Yes, I can. I can fight here all night and never rest. Yes, I can. I was just born today. I can go all the way. Yes!
So take it away. You tell your story.
Thank you very much. Can I say how amazing it is to be here, One Young World? Thank you for having me. And thank you to Caroline for inviting me. Now, I call her Caroline, but really I know her as the 8th wonder of the world. And you know what, folks? I've just discovered the 9th wonder of the world, that young man, Oscar, who was here talking to you earlier. Just because I look wonky on the outside doesn't mean I'm wonky on the inside. Isn't he amazing? Now, you're getting a sense of where I'm coming from, but I'm going to get my cards right on the table from the start. I love disabled people. Thank you. And as you can see from that video, my company loves disabled people too. And you know what? Not because we're a charity. We love disabled people because they make our business better. They really do. as we have just heard. Now come with me, if you will, to Rio in 2016. It's the start of the Paralympic Games, and I am in a cold, concrete TV studio waiting for the ratings to come in. How many people watched it? Everyone's nervous. London 2012 had been a stunning success for us, but with a 4-hour time difference in Brazil, ratings were just bound to be down. It was just a case of how much. We'd won the rights for London by promising that half of the presenters on our coverage, that's about 10 people, would be disabled. Now, 10 people, that sounds simple enough, doesn't it? Except when you consider that there were only 3 disabled people presenting jobs in British TV on any channel in any genre. But we found people, they were brilliant, and we trained them, and just like the athletes who were performing, they were absolutely extraordinary. And you know what? The public could see that too. They were watching it on their TVs, and they loved it. The games were a complete sellout for the first time ever, and we had the highest viewing figures we've had for any program for a decade. But even more than that, what I'm really proud of is that we had started to transform how the British public think of disabled people. Not for what they can't do, but for what they can do. Now, for the Games in Rio, we decided to double down on disabled people. This time, 2/3 of our presenters were disabled, and 20% of our production staff were too. And we made that advert, and something absolutely miraculous happened. Ratings for young people, for you, were up. They weren't down, they were up. And I have to say, you know, we were not on home turf. We had this time difference. We were amazed. I actually fell off my chair. I got a bruise up here at the side for falling off my chair in shock. Now, I've got 2 more stories to tell you. The first involved Mars, you know, the large global chocolate company. Now, they won our free airtime competition for the campaign that best championed disabled people. And the ads that they made for Maltesers were lovely. And they showed disabled people telling funny stories about their disabilities to their friends. Now, the advertising agency that made this called me the day before they were due on air, and they said they were worried. They were worried that the company would be criticized for exploiting disabled people for profit. Shocking. Well, they really needn't have worried about that because the public loved these adverts too, and it became Maltesers' most successful advertising campaign for 8 years. 8 years, ladies and gentlemen. So in that little fact there, we have something very important. We have the fact that disability sells. It sells, and we know it sells. And also, what I know, and people on this stage know, and many of you know, is that disability works. Let me explain what I mean by that. When we started our Paralympic journey, less than 2% of our staff at Channel 4 were disclosing as disabled, and we set ourselves the job of trebling that by 2020. Now, we'd hired more disabled people, and we doubled that number to 4% when I was talking to someone who runs one of the biggest disability charities in the UK, and they said to me, you know what, you've probably got more disabled people in your company already than you think that you have. Why? Because many people have disabilities that you can't see and that they don't talk about, such as, for example, depression, dyslexia, or ADHD. Now, we decided to do something about that, so we made some films with disabled members of staff who were prepared to come out as being disabled for the first time. And I tell you, when we showed these films, it was like 1,000 volts running through the whole company. Had the most profound effect. And within 24 hours, the number of people in the company disclosing as disabled went from 4%, not to our target of 6%, to 11%. I can tell you I was shocked by that too, and now I had another bruise up this side of my body from falling off that chair. Now, many of our disabled members of staff, frankly, were already amongst our highest performing people. Why? Because time and again, we find that disabled people are often more resourceful, more determined, and just more resilient than their able-bodied colleagues. Now, we all have ability, of course we do. But what we find time and again is that if you have a disability, it often means your ability flowers with an even greater power. That is our experience. And if you want an example of that, I would invite you to look no further than Caroline Casey here, an absolutely extraordinary woman who has started a global revolution in the employment of disabled people. Please get on board with it. I really encourage you to do so. It's a fantastic thing. As you can see, we have had the most incredible experience ourselves with working with disabled people. And I want, in closing, if I may, just to do an experiment. I said that we, in our company, decided to find out how many disabled people there were within our world. And what I'd like to do now, as I do going around the place now, is I'd like to find out how many disabled people there are in your world, in One Young World. So if we could have the lights, the floor lights up, please, if that's possible. What I'd like to do is I'd like to invite anybody here who is disabled to stand up. And if you can't stand up, I would invite you to wave your hands, shout, do whatever you like. And remember here that we're talking, anyone with a disability, fantastic, someone's already waving. We're talking here about physical disabilities, sensory disabilities, mental disabilities, learning disabilities. So I'd invite everybody with a disability to stand up, please. That's amazing, Caroline. We have quite a lot of people, I would say. It's about 5% of people, maybe 10% of people. Okay, let's widen this out now. What I'd like, anybody who has friends or family who are disabled, please stand up. If you have friends or family, look, it's almost the entire hall. Incredible, Caroline. She can't see this.
Shout out!
Almost everybody is standing. Okay, now let's get everybody up. Anybody who just gives a shit about this subject, please stand up. They're all standing. The room, okay.
Okay, time for a selfie. Okay, can we do something? Because it hasn't been done before. Would you stand up and shout? We're going to take a selfie. We're going to put it on Facebook. And will you tag yourselves and get this conversation going? Because I can't see what I'm doing. So would you take the picture?
So please, can you wave? Everybody wave, please. That's fantastic. Thank you very much.
Dan Brooke! Now, we're just about finished because this is our global call to action. This is serious. You're tired, you're exhausted, you've got another big day, and you have so many requests. I don't ask you to put disability before your individual passion. But today, I am asking you and your friends, when you go back to your companies and your organizations, today is the very first worldwide call to action. You've stood here, you've said you give a shit. And I really need you to give a shit just today. This campaign, which nearly broke my back, 50 companies said no, 3 said yes. One Young World said, we believe in you, even if you've forgotten. Oscar kept me going. I really believe it's time. It is no longer acceptable for the citizenship of 1 billion people to be left aside. So we are making a global call to action for all of you in business. By the Hague of One Young World 2018, we are challenging 500 global business to put disability on their board agenda. 500. That's not even a lot. 500. And I need your help to go into your business to make sure that they're one of 500, so I can come back here in 2018 and get 500. This morning, guys, we had the best news ever. I had the president of Renault Colombia, Matthew Tannenbaum, commit to being one of that 500 at breakfast this morning. And even better, Bill Vogie, who is the chair of the biggest law firm in the world, Latham and Watkins, has done a video giving his commitment, which is just going to go live now. And if law firms can do it and Renault can do it, go get your companies. Go knock on their doors. 500 companies, let's make it possible. The second call to action is I need 5 global business leaders. I need the Sheryl Sandbergs. I need the Paul Pullmans. Where are they? In all the world, we have not found one business leader outside the disability community to stand with the citizens who have disability. Why not? Why not? We can find them for environment, we can find them for gender, we can find them for poverty, we can find them for water. Why not? Where are they? Help me find them. I only need 500 companies and 5. And to begin that, I am asking you to help me find one, just one, to help me position this and co-host a plenary session in Davos of 2018. Please help me find one, just one. And if anybody knows Jeff Bezos, please introduce him to me. Please, get Jeff Bezos to have a conversation with me. And before we finish, the last action, so remember 500, 5, 1, Jeff Bezos, please put up the screen that I'm asking for. Please make noise. It may not be your passion area, but this is your world too. I am asking you now to do a digital thunderclap. Get out there. It's whatever it is, put out a tweet to say that you are part of the valuable tribe. #valuable. You believe in a world where everyone is valued equally. Do it now. Please, please do it now. Get your friends to do it. And Nast, I know he's coming, but before you come, I know you didn't want me to do this. I'm going to make David and Kate really angry. But listen, I trekked 1,000 kilometers for this, and I care enough to make a fool of myself. Sorry. Is there one leader or CEO in this room who will begin the 5? Is there one leader, please? Just one. I'm only asking for one. Not even as a CEO. Will you stand as a person? Is there one? Is there one? Is there one?
There are lots. There's one there.
Come up here. Stand here. Okay, we better go. Thank you so much. You're all so good. Thank you.
What about those business leaders? Huh? Give a big cheer.
Come on, we better get off the stage. Come on, let's go, lads. Get
Let's
off
give them a
stage.
huge round of
We have
applause on an
somebody much more
amazing,
important.
amazing session. Caroline, Casey, you're amazing. That worked. Well
You
done.
can do it if you really, really, really try.